businesses don't really have a clear vision a lot of the times on how to grow. You know, a lot of the times their main goal is to double their business. That's always seems to be like kind of the main pressing point when you ask a business owner, "Hey, what's your goal?" And they say, "Hey, we'd like to double this year." Um, well, lucky for you, we've broken it down into 3 to 4 very easy steps, and it's called the Rule of 25. Dustin, I want to let you kind of take it over, and you kind of didn't necessarily come up with this, but you heard about some ideas pertaining to this, and yeah, I want to hear your thoughts on it.
Yeah, for sure. So I think the whole like idea or the premise behind what we're sharing is just to simplify something that can seem so abstract to business owners because it's like, okay, how do I double this thing? And the reality is there's three things that you can do that are simple to do something like this, over a time period that makes sense. So the first thing that we focus on, inside of our agency is, well, we need to drive more traffic. And, how do we do that? We do that through things like Google Ads or PPC campaigns. We do it with Facebook ads. We do it with YouTube ads. We do it with SEO. We do it with all kinds of different methods, depending on the company and what makes the most sense. And the first thing that we're trying to do is increase traffic by at least 25%, which is extremely doable for almost any business out there as long as they've got an online presence. The next thing that we really focus on, which is different than a lot of other agencies, and some do this though, and this kind of takes us back to, I think, like 2 podcast episodes before we were talking about SEO and SXO and how you really need the combination of the two. And, SEO is designed to satisfy, Google, Bing, or whatever search, engine that somebody's using. But we really need to also satisfy the consumer. And so that's where SXO comes in. And with it, if we can satisfy the consumer, keep people on page with more engaging content, develop better meta titles and descriptions to drive a higher click through rate, add video, create better navigation systems, which are good for crawlers too. But I mean, if you've got a really great navigation that is intuitive for people, they're more likely to find what they're looking for. And when we start adding all those other layers in and we keep people on page longer and they end up calling you, sending a form, to have you contact them, buying something online, those kinds of things. If we can increase conversion rates by doing those things by just as little as 25%, that creates a huge impact. So just a practical example of the numbers and what that means. Let's say you've got $1 million business and you're like, okay, I want to double. How do I get there? If we increase the traffic coming to the site by 25%, that'll get you to 1.25 million. As long as you answer the phone and as long as you've got fulfillment, you can get to 1.25 million just doing that. And again, 25% is very doable. The next layer of that, if we increase conversions by 25%, that'll get you to a little over 1.5 million. I think it's like 1.5625 million to be exact. And someone can check my math. But from there, what we generally love to encourage businesses to do is if you now have more traffic coming in and you're increasing at a higher rate, and hopefully you've got great tools that are capturing awesome reviews from your services or products, and you've got testimonials of how great you guys are, you're starting to separate yourself from the competition at this point. And at that point, like, we give you permission to increase your pricing. And if you increase your pricing by 25% at that point, all of a sudden, and you can do this from the get go if you want to, but all of a sudden, with those three things and those three layers of 25% increases, you'll be right at like 1.9 million and change, which is just shy of doubling your business. And I, it almost seems unfathomable because it is so simple when you look at it as a math equation. But if you've got a great SEO, increasing traffic by 25% should be very doable. If you've got a great company that understands user experience optimization and SXO, increasing conversion rates by 25% is very doable. And if you've got a great product or service and people really love your brand, increasing your pricing by 25% is also doable. So I mean, that's the real simple answer to how you do it. I mean, clearly you need to operationally be able to, fulfill, orders and those kind of things that are coming in. But if you can do all those things and you've got a sound operation, that's the math equation.
So in that instance, like, because I think those three things are very important for business to double, which one would you tackle first? Would it be the conversion piece or would it be the traffic piece?
I think the conversion thing is the fastest thing to do because you can split test pages and make assumptions, or not assumptions, but make take educated information that's already out there and say, okay, if we change this, if we change these titles, if we move call to actions here, here, and here, if we add testimonials or more trust factor type things, it's something that you can test. And over a relatively short period of time, say, hey, the page that we had versus the page that we're now using, and sending the same amount of traffic to both, this one is converting better. Pay attention to Hotjar and other tools like that. Like, it is the quickest way to see the 25% increase between the two. The traffic way, depending on the mode or source of traffic that you're getting, could be quick. So if you're going for, if you have a large budget and you can drive a ton of money into paid ads campaigns, regardless of the source, you can increase your website traffic very significantly. If you're going the SEO route, which is going to be slower, but it's going to have greater sustainability over time. I mean, that's that you're looking at 3, 6, 12 months, depending on the website, how old it's been. I mean, if they've already got great SEO to the site, it's going to be a little bit more challenging. But if they're a relatively new company that actually has decent revenue coming in, but is not really advertising whatsoever, hasn't done any conversion optimization, doesn't have a decent offer, like what I just mentioned is gangbusters for a company like that.
Yeah, for sure. So let's just say, let's just take that example for a second. Let's say it's a 3-year-old company, which I would consider new, right? I think if you're under 5 years, you're a relatively new company. Um, so let's say you're 3 years in, you're doing 1 million in a year. To put all these pieces into place, using the rule of 25, how quickly do you think a business, um, let's just say a service-based business, how quickly do you think that they could hit those growth miles or those markers by using the rule of 25?
I think it's realistic to say within a 12 to 18 month period, if you focus on those three things, that you can double your business. And I'm seeing it right now with businesses that we work with there. And it's ironically at that milestone, they're at year 4. They've got the equipment, they have the manpower to make it happen. They've been developing a good brand, but by focusing on additional streams of traffic coming in, doing a great job retargeting and repositioning their brand in front of people who have now been to the site, increasing pricing, and obviously focusing on conversions. I mean, they are blowing it out of the water this year. So, and what can be intimidating to businesses as well, like the thought of doubling can sometimes be exciting. But I also know other businesses that are like, man, if I grow at 20%, like I'm kind of nervous. This is all stuff that you also have control of, because the other reality here is, if you don't have the manpower or capacity, we all want to make more money. And if you've got more traffic coming in and more leads, and you can do a better job qualifying the right people and the right jobs or the right services that you want to do, and you now have the ability to increase your pricing and say no to people or put people on a wait list, that's not a bad problem to have either. Because if you've got the leads coming in and you've got the revenue and now your profitability is better, if labor pool is an issue or supply chain or whatever it is, you now have at least bought yourself some time to fix those things. So,
Yeah, 100%. I think the hardest part for business owners for them to kind of get over is going to be doubling their price or increasing their prices, right? That's always the thing to them, that's the sticking point. They think that if I increase my prices, I'm going to lose out on a bunch of business. And that can be true to some degree, but if you manage it properly and handle it the right way, I don't think that's the case at all. Like what you said, having a wait list. Because I'm a firm believer, people buy when value exceeds price. So looking at your competition and seeing what they're offering for the price that you're offering it at now, and what more value could you bring to the table? That way you can increase that price. Because you know I'm more inclined to go with the more expensive option when I know that it's going to be quality work. Because otherwise, you hire a cheaper option, you do the work, and then 6 months later, 12 months later, you have to hire someone else because of the shoddy job they just did. So, you know, I'm a firm believer on, you know, the most expensive strategy is the one that doesn't work.
Oh, I love that. I think they've shown it in like case studies and stuff too. I mean, you can do blind taste tests of, vodka, wine, whatever it may be. And a lot of times lesser expensive brands actually taste better, but you put a bottle of Grey Goose in front of somebody or a bottle of like Pinnacle vodka or something that's, in a plastic bottle, and you say you have whatever you want, everyone's going to err on the side of Goose every day, all the time. So yeah, I think there's a lot to be said. Now you can there's something called price elasticity, so you can definitely price yourself out of the market if you don't have the brand to support it. And I wouldn't say for any business that it would necessarily make sense overnight to just increase pricing 25%. But what you can do is if like let's say you're a fencing company and you know that with the leads that you have coming in right now, like you close on average of 45% of them, will push your pricing up 10%. If you're still closing at that same range, you're still within that elasticity, push it up another 5 to 10. If your conversion rates are still good, just keep pushing it up until people start saying no, like you're way too expensive. But again, if you have enough traffic coming in and your conversion rates online for getting quotes and stuff is higher, it may give you the leverage to say no to more people, decrease the amount of actual quote conversions you have, but still increase profitability and jobs because the other two are doing really well.
Yeah, dude, I love that. I think what's funny is, and I'm not going to mention the name, but I think you know who I'm going to be talking about here. Back in the day, when I was 24, 25, I worked for an agency, right? And we were charging $1,000 a month management fees. Then the year after that, we were charging $2,000 a month management fees. Didn't notice a drop off in conversion rate. Then the next year after that became so well known, we increased it to $4,000 a month just for management fees. That's not including ad spend or anything like that. So we went from one to two to $4,000 per month charging for our services. You know what's funny is our conversion rates actually increased because at that point our model was so built up that people now knew about us and saw us as the profound provider in the marketplace. We were the elite provider in the marketplace. And so because of that, everybody and their brother wanted to use us. So people were happy to pay 4 grand a month because they knew that they were going to get results.
Right. Well, and those things like reputation, reviews, testimonials, building a brand over time, like all that stuff matters. And that's something that, any business should be doing anyway. But if, you start increasing your traffic, you increase online conversions, you increase your pricing, the next layer to this is to make sure that you've got automations in the system behind you to continue to do something like the brand that you worked with was doing to show people like, hey, yeah, we do charge more, but we actually know our shit. And here's the stuff that we've done for people. So, and I mean, if you're, a service-based business or whatever that may be, I mean, those things are super powerful.
Love it. So just kind of recapping. So with the rule of 25, you'd probably start with the conversion piece first and then simultaneously work on the traffic component of it. And then maybe 6 months down the track, look at the increase in cost of product or service.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say there's a one-shot approach at this thing, but based off of competitor analysis and where they're priced at in the market right now with the reviews and reputation, what they're willing to throw at as far as ad spend if they're going down that road, etc. There may be some variables inside of there. I mean, there's businesses that we've worked with, and within the first day, I've said raise your pricing, and they have, and overnight people still continued, to book services and whatnot with them. So depends on the business, but I would say as a whole, the goal should be if you're trying to double, increase your traffic by at least 25%, increase your conversions by at least 25%, increase your pricing by 25%. And if you do those three things, you can double your business.
Easy. Now let's just do it.
It is that easy,
Let's just
right?
do it for any and every business, right?
Yeah.
Um, Including ourselves. I think, we're what's we're so good at what we do, and I know a lot of businesses say the same thing. Hey, we're so good at what we do, we just wish that people could see that, right? And I think it's just we strive so much to be the best, and we are the best, I believe, that sometimes we have too many ideas that we want to implement them all at the same time. And we tend to what's the thing when you're freezing on multiple ideas?
I mean, you could say it's analysis paralysis, but I think what most businesses do is they focus so hard on the product or service that they offer to perfect it over and over and over again because I mean it's your baby, right? Like you want it to be, I mean, hopefully you do. You want it to be great. But what they don't do is spend enough time telling their story and why they're great, improving that to people. And for us, and we keep saying us, we may not have mentioned it at the beginning of the show, but Life by the Horns is powered by Best Life Group. Best Life Group is a small business growth agency, so we do talk about what we do there from time to time, and it is a part of all things entrepreneurship. So we're going to talk business, but we were for the first couple of years so focused on delivering exceptional results. And I mean, I even wrote up 4 case studies this last week of some just super great customers that we'd worked with for anywhere between 12 and 36 months and what we were able to do for them. And I laughed because as I'm writing up the case studies, I'm like, every single one of these, we did the same fucking thing. We did website audits and fixed their checkout process and UX just as a whole. We went through and did redesigns that converted at a higher level. We then turned around and started pushing paid ad campaigns when we, identified what a good unique selling proposition was for them and marketing muscle to support it. We drove additional traffic, and then we gave all of them we were like, look, here are your competitors and what they're charging. You're kind of in the middle of the pack. Charge more, and you'll get better quality customers. And every single one of them hit the goals in which they established with us. And we were just following a simple formula. But because we were so focused on our customers and not ourselves, it was a stupid saying that I didn't come up with, but the maid's house is often the dirtiest. Like we were working so fucking hard for everybody else for proof of concept of what we were doing. And we were getting, a lot of referrals and whatnot at the time. But now that we've decided to branch out and focus more on service-based businesses, local-based businesses, and just small businesses and medium-sized business in general, instead of being niche down, now we're having to tell people who've never heard of us, like, hey, this is who we are. This is what we can do. So we're having to do what we do for everybody else, for ourselves, really, really well. And it's super important. Every business should be doing this.
Yeah, agreed, bro. Agreed. So I think the most important part of like this entire strategy is okay, you double your traffic, you double the amount of conversions, the amount of leads that you're getting, you increase your prices. Now it comes down to the selling component, right? And there's this you hear all these sales gurus talk about which one's best and everyone pulls you in different directions. And I tend to lean more towards the older guys that have been doing it for quite some time, guys like Zig Ziglar and Brian Tracy and Tony Robbins, guys that have kind of been in the trenches with proven sales styles. Then you got the newer guys, obviously, but the biggest thing is uh, prescription versus selling. A lot of the times you'll hear guys, when they go into a conversation and they say, "Yeah, look, I'm just going to make sure that, this is the right fit and blah 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 blah." And they'll say that, but at the end of the call, they're always trying to sell something, regardless of if the prospect has disqualified themselves. So, uh yeah, man, what are your thoughts on using a prescription style sales model as opposed to, the newer age back off approach?
If your focus is the long term, then in my opinion, prescription based makes the most sense. If your focus is short term gratification and you're willing to move in and out of industries and you don't care about personal reputation and those kind of things, then sure. I mean, just sell shit to people. But um, eh, I've been on the receiving end of those phone calls by dozens and dozens of sales guys, and I've heard what you said, like, oh, we want to see if you qualify. I've never not qualified. There's been times where I'm like, I'm pretty sure I don't actually qualify. And they're like, no, 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 you do. I'm like, no, you're just trying to fucking sell me something. But what's, and it doesn't matter the industry, but for us specific, what has always driven me nuts, and I've even had our own team members question like why we don't do this. And the question was, or the comment was, Lundy, everybody's money is green. So why don't we just take everybody's, regardless of if it's a good fit or not? And I'm like, well, first of all, it's not in line with our core values, and I actually want to go to sleep at night. But second of all, the whole reason we started this thing was to help people just like us. And so, like, I know for a fact that if we're not prescribing them what they really need based off of what they can really afford that's in line with their goals, they will not be happy, period. And there has been so many instances where whether I was on the sales call, a former team member was on the sales call, or things that I've heard about from like other companies where they're just like, yeah, we just got to get the sale because they're worried about the carrot that's right in front of them, versus again, this long-term strategy or goal. And it's not good for anybody. So yeah, I say prescribe all day. And I mean, we even do it. I mean, this, we do this internally. We don't just, they come in and say, hey, I want this. And we just go, yeah, let's do it. A lot of times there's a collaboration amongst, several of us that is, hey, like, this is what they want. This is the initial thought in what they need. Like, is everybody in alignment with this or are we missing something? And then give people options based off of their budget of what that actually looks like. And I think, if you're doing kitchen remodels, do the same thing. Like, don't just sugarcoat some shit to try to get the sale. It doesn't make sense. If you're, trying to do a roof install, like whatever this may be, prescribe what the person actually needs. And if you can't come into alignment with, if what they really need is a full replacement, if what they really need is, our freaking CMO offering or fractional CMO offering, if that is what these folks need and they can't afford it, like, that's okay. We're not going to say, all right, well, then let's just do SEO so we can at least get, a couple grand a month from somebody. That doesn't make any damn sense to me. Where have you seen it go wrong?
Well, I mean, I like this is gonna be sound so cliche, and maybe some of you are like, "Ugh," like might want to gag, but I like to look at myself as like a doctor, a digital doctor, right? And that is if you show up to a doctor and you've played sports, you injured your knee, right? He's not going to be like, you know what, you need ACL surgery. It's going to cost you 25 grand, and let's go. Like, he's not going to do that. He's going to do an MRI. He's going to ask you how you did it. He's going to ask you what your goals are. Do you want to play sports again? Is it something that you want to do quickly, or do you want to do the long recovery process, which is going to be better over time? He's going to start asking you tons of questions and find out what your goals are, right?
A good doctor.
A good
Yes.
doctor, right? Which I would like to say, like, majority of them are, but yes, a good doctor is going to ask them the questions and what their goals are, and then he's going to provide them options, and he's going to go through. He or she is going to go through, the pros and cons of each, and I think that marketing has to be done the same, and I think that's what works really well is if you put a couple options in front of prospects and you say, hey, here's what could go right, here's what could go wrong with each individual option. Well, now they have two paths in front of them on things that they could do to grow their business. And it's not like you've tried to sell them. You've been honest with them and say, hey, here's the detriment, or here's what could go wrong if you go with either one of these options. But at least I want to let you know this, so that way if you do invest in marketing and in your business, you know what the pros would be, and what sort of pitfalls you could avoid.
No, I agree. I think that storytelling though is always fun too. So I mean, I'm sure you've got some and I've got some as well, but I remember probably 7 or 8 months ago, we had a realtor booking a consultation and she was like all gung ho about SEO because that's what she had heard from her friends that she needs. And I remember the salesperson, he's no longer here. And he initially was like, yep, it's going to be about this much a month. And I was like, no, 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 bro. Like we're not competing with Remax and Keller Williams and some of these other large conglomerates. Like we're just not. Like the only way she's going to be able to, and she actually had a really nice site, but I was like, the only way she's really going to be able to stand out, and her budget was like $1,000 a month. So it was like personal branding. Here is how she can do that. Here's some great resources for her. And then if she's got the budget and she does a great job with her personal branding, I would recommend some Facebook ads, some retargeting awareness in her area, but that would be it. And he repositioned it in front of her. I mean, she took the personal branding stuff because it was free. She took the advice for what she should do, but she wasn't really killing it as a realtor at the time, so she was a little hesitant to make the investment. But like, we could have very easily just said, "Yeah, SEO all day. We'll do some local SEO for you. We'll get you ranked in this area. It's going to take 6 to 12 months." And at the end of the day, she would have been unhappy. So I don't think that one I'm glad we did the right thing for sure, but I've seen where it's gone terribly wrong too. And we had at one point um, a sales guy sell someone an SEO and Google Ads package for a drop ship knife company, and the knives were unbranded, not good quality. They were more expensive than their counterparts on Amazon, which had free shipping. He did not. You could only check out with him using PayPal. And like there was nothing in this whole scenario that was good. And I haven't seen a lot of dropship companies do well anyway. But the guy was like, "No, I've got to do this. I really like you guys. I'm willing to still make the investment anyway." And I'm like, "Oh God." And he worked with us for about 5 months, and we were getting traffic to the site. We could not do anything inside of the Google Shopping Network because he kept changing his entire catalog consistently, and it was way too difficult to keep up with. Was actually kicking our ass as far as SEO. And we finally get like 5 months in. We show him his reporting, and he's like, "All these numbers look good, but I still I'm still not getting purchases." And so I sent a recap as to why and all of the bottlenecks that he was creating. I mean, at one point he broke his checkout. You couldn't even check out. And then at one point I put an order in just for myself, and because I didn't go through PayPal, he canceled it. And so, I mean, I just laughed. We let him out of his contract and everything. And I was just like, "Hey, like we told you from the get go, it's not going to be a great fit. We gave it a shot. We actually did produce results for you. But sometimes business can get in their own way, and then that was one where it was also just not a great fit with the lack of brand and product that he had. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, it's important that you're honest from the very get go and say, like, I don't, if I'm being honest, I don't think it's going to work. Because here's the crazy thing, right? They're going to have already spoken to 3 to 4 other agencies, and every single one of them is going to be like, yep, no problem. Like, here's the strategy. We're going to start driving traffic. You should see a few sales. And, after 6 months, we'll really start ramping this thing up. Who do you think they're going to listen to more? Those agencies that say the same thing, or the one guy that's like, you know what? I'm not confident this is going to work.
If their ego is not big and inflated and they think that they're right, they're always going to listen to the one that says, "Hey, hear me out." So no, I mean it builds a lot of trust for sure. And I've noticed in those two that even if they go a different direction because you're like, "Hey, this isn't a good idea," I've seen them refer people to us like, "Hey, you should speak to so and so. You can really trust this guy."
Yeah. It's unfortunate, man. A lot of I compare a lot of agencies to the Illuminati. They seriously, they talk a big game, and they say all these tremendous things that they're going to do for this business, and they get a business so fired up, and then at the end of the day, man, they just leave them high and dry, and they've made their money, and you've either shut down your business or you've gone so far backwards where it's going to take years to come out of that hole.
Yeah. And I think the other thing to be mindful of with this whole selling side of things, we're working with a really awesome leadership and management coach or consultant, and we just
Shout
got
out
all his
Miles.
right. So we just got all his stuff dialed in, and he's like, "Man, I one of my concerns is I've never really been a salesman, so when I start getting these leads, I don't know how well I'll do." And I'm like, "All right, well, let's be realistic. I mean, if you can close between 10 and 15% with not a lot of experience, like I think that's decent." But I said, "I need you to pivot your focus to you're not a sales guy. People are reaching out to you because they have a problem. And if you are a problem solver and your service can fix this and it's truly great, the conviction that you should have in it should be so high that you could probably close better than a closer for your business because you understand the product and you believe in it so much. So don't think of these as sales calls. Like they're reaching out to you because they have a problem and you can fix it." And he's like, "Yeah, that makes a lot of sense." And I was like, "Man, I remember back in my sales days, like that was always the focus. Like people came to us because they needed something, and I had something that I knew would fix it. We did a way better job in presenting what the fix looked like, and 9 times out of 10, they went with us."
Yeah. And I think the traditional sales is dead. Um, and I'll explain what I mean. I think that a lot of organizations who have sales guys, it's very transactional, where it's like, we don't provide a transaction, we don't provide a product, we provide a service. So we're coming in and we're actually taking on your business as if we're your CMO, as if we're actually your marketing manager within your business. Like, growing your business is just as important to us as it is to you. And I think that, yeah, with Miles and our leadership coach, it's like, if you just be yourself, man, like, you've got a plethora of wisdom and knowledge in how to help coach, manage, and train organizations to stop being bottlenecks within their business. If you can just shed light on where the gaps that a business has and what your service does that plugs those gaps, that's all you have to do. And I think we do the same thing. And that's just how you have to take it in this sort of mentality. But unfortunately, I think it comes from the top down and leadership, where if an organization is just so focused on numbers and that's all they care about, and then you see your CEO or the owner of the business driving around a Ferrari and being sort of flashy, I think that's a telltale sign that you're in one of those transactional sort of businesses where it's it only matters about the sale. It doesn't matter about the end user.
And you see it in, businesses big and small. I mean, I remember last year we worked with a guy that, like, his goal was just, man, I just want to get past 1 million. Just want to get past 1 million. Just want to get past 1 million. We're like, all right, cool. So we got everything into place. Everything was moving in the right direction. Unfortunately, he was not good at building teams or systems or frameworks for them to operate in. And as he was growing, because he was just so focused on a number and transactions, his reputation went down. And there were, like, reviews that we were seeing because we were managing them were not good. And we'd reach out and be like, hey, man, please give us a little bit of insight on what actually happened here so we can respond appropriately to this thing and more tactful. Because I also know, as a business owner, if something doesn't go well and you're really close to it, you can be a little emotional in your response. And so we try to take that out for the guys that we work with. But um, in every one of them, he was hypersensitive, defensive, and we're like, maybe we need to throttle some things back and don't tank on as much work and just charge more. And it was just consistently no, like, we've got to go, we've got to go, we've got to go. And the ironic thing is, they hit their numbers, and then as they get to the end of the year, now all of a sudden they want to be small again because life was too stressful. Their reputation went to shit. They were overworked. They didn't really make any more money at the end of the day because they were giving too many refunds and stuff out. They pissed off team members. So yeah, it's, back to where we started with this whole thing, man. Like, this whole idea of growing and everything else can be scary for some. You just got to have the frameworks and systems in place, and it can't be just a transactional thing. It's got to be something where you really have good systems, people, and processes in place, and you really care about solving a problem for people. And if you have all those things, man, then, the sky's the limit as long as you're really doing best in your business.
Yeah, 100%. I even I posted something on Facebook the other day, and I said something along the lines of, when you give everything and expect nothing in return, you'll get back way more than you ever expected. And it's true if you think about it. Like, when you give, and this comes to your clients, your family, your friends, whatever it is, the law of reciprocity, it's real, man, and you will get back way more in return if you just don't expect it and you just give, because that's who you are. And um, people see that, and they're going to be more likely to do the same for you, plus some.
Yeah. All right. I agree. Well, do you have anything else you want to share, man?
No, I think it's been a good session. I love the rule of 25. I'm excited to put this out there and actually help a lot of these businesses start implementing it and see what it looks like for their individual business. So no, man, it's been good. I appreciate all of our listeners tuning in, listening to another episode and podcast special of Life by the Horns. Again, Blake and Dustin here. We'd really appreciate it if you guys liked, followed, subscribed, shared, whatever you got to do. We appreciate the love and support. And always, if there's any questions, please feel free to reach out. Peace out, guys.
See you guys.